I surrender to the Almighty, my mind, speech and body. Vanakkam. We are currently reading the book called Thirukkural, which is a book on Aram. Aram is a term that refers to the order found in nature. This book says that just as how the universe has some order in its working, humans too can conduct their lives in a certain way that ensures not only a smooth functioning of life, but also a life that could lead a householder to fame and even be shown the path to indestructible and never-ending bliss, or what we call as moksha or mukti. This book is divided into three big sections called Paal, the Arathu Paal, Paal and Inbathu Paal. The first big section of the book is called as the Arathu Paal, and it discusses two Arams, namely Illaram and Thuravaram. The Aram for the life of a householder is called as Illaram, and this section of the book shows us the right way to form attachments in life of a householder. And once we enjoy the attachments of life, it is said that humans tend to feel satisfied and then they begin to look for something better and bigger. And Thuravaram, which is the next Aram discussed in this section, shows us the way to do that. It shows that by letting go of attachments, we can learn to love all forms of life around us, and this is the way to reach the final destination of our repeating cycles of life and death, which is called as mukti or moksha. So Illaram and Thuravaram are the two Arams discussed in the Arathu Paal section of the book. Now, in order to live the life of a householder, we need money, and this leads to the second big section of the book called as the Paal. The Paal deals with topics related to wealth creation. More specifically, it addresses the principles of administration and management. It talks about how to effectively manage a kingdom or an empire. But these teachings are easily applicable to any business or an organization today. The third section of the book is called as the Inbathu Paal, and this section is devoted to understanding the principles behind pleasure or inbam. Where are we standing now? We are following the commentaries given by Parimilalagar, and he had written an introduction to this book called as the Urai Payiram. We finished reading that, and then we entered the first Paal called as the Arathu Paal. In Arathu Paal, we have entered the first viyal called as the Payira viyal. In Payira viyal, we have entered the first chapter called as the Kadavul Vaazhthu. Kadavul Vaazhthu means in praise of God. So this chapter is going to show us what the Tamils understood as God, and we are standing in the first Kural. The first Kural goes like this: agara muthala ezhuthellam adi bhagavan mudattre ulagu. So here Valluvar made a comparison to help us to understand the nature of God. Parimilalagar explained that just as the letter A is the first letter of all the alphabets of all the languages, God is the first. And this raised a question: is A the first letter of all the alphabets of all languages? It is the first letter of the Tamil alphabet, but all languages? So to understand this Kural, we saw how the Tamil language was created as a means of communication. Communication through language started as simple sounds, and then it expanded to words and sentences and lengthy essays, and as the intelligence in man matured, it shrunk to sounds and finally landed in silence. And then we looked into something called as a Vaaku Principle. The sound that we produce when we talk is loosely referred by the term Vaaku. And in the last video, I explained the principles behind Vaaku Thathuvam or the Vaaku Principle. Thathuvam means principle, and the Tamils viewed the world as an interaction of different kinds of principles. The earth, water, fire, air and space are all principles. Our ancestors say that whatever principle we find in the world around us, the same principles are working in our body too. And the Vaaku Thathuvam is one such principle that works in the human body. So what is the purpose of this Vaaku Principle? As I have explained several times earlier, our identity is not limited to this body. The body is just a non-intelligent entity, and there is an intelligence in the body that makes the body to function, and that intelligent entity is called as the Uyir. But we find that all the experiences of life happen in the body, and somehow it becomes an experience of the Uyir. How? The Vaaku Thathuvam helps in transferring the experience happening in the body to become an experience of the Uyir. The Vaaku Thathuvam operates in the Mooladharam of the human body. Our speech or the sound that we make when we talk originates from the Mooladharam. Here the sound is present as light and it is called as sukumai Vaaku. And as the Vaaku rises and travels in its path, it gets different names and gradually the light becomes sound and comes out of the mouth. So we covered all these concepts in detail in the last video, so I am just giving an overview. When we were small children, we didn't start to talk, our Vaaku remained in the Mooladharam, and as we grew older, the Vaaku began to rise and then it comes out of the mouth as speech. But then as we go through many experiences of life, good and bad, spanning several lifetimes, we begin to understand that we are stuck in this process of life, and it is said that with that realization, the Vaaku begins to travel downwards back to the Mooladharam. That is a sign of wisdom, or what we call as Jnanam. It is said that silence is the end or the upper limit of wisdom. Today we will see some more information about the Vaaku and how the Vaaku Thathuvam relates to the sound A. I think by now we understand that Hindus subscribe to the idea that our body is only a lifeless instrument that is used by the intelligence called as Uyir. Without that intelligent entity, the body is just a corpse. In other words, we are the Uyir and we need this body to live out our karma. And in all of us, the Vaaku Thathuvam helps to attach the body to the Uyir. But there are some people who have been through the cycle of life and death enough number of times and have therefore gained wisdom. That is, they have realized the truth about creation. For them, the huge karma baggage that we all carry is almost over. Therefore, the Uyir gets separated from the body, but the body doesn't die. Obviously, we don't have that kind of experience in our life, so our mind will find it difficult to understand that such a state is even possible. But such a state is possible, and there are a few people who are like that. The Uyir is just loosely present in the body till the karma is completely lived out. And these people are called as Jeevan Muktha-s. Jeevan Muktha-s. The situation is something similar to that of a ripe tamarind fruit. You see, there is a tree called tamarind tree, and it gives the tamarind fruit that looks like this. It has a hard shell with a soft flesh inside. When the fruit is unripe, the fruit is stuck to the shell. But when the fruit ripens, the flesh gets detached from the shell, and when you shake the fruit, you can hear the flesh rattle against the shell. The flesh is loosely encased inside the shell. So similarly, for the Jeevan Muktha-s also, the Uyir is sort of loosely encased in the body until the remaining karma is lived out. Now, their Vaaku has reached the Mooladharam, but since the body is not attached to the Uyir, their Vaaku is said to get attached directly to the divine force. It is said that the Vaaku needs something to hold on to, and in all of us, the Vaaku is attached to the body, but for the Jeevan Muktha-s, since the body remains detached from the Uyir, the Vaaku gets attached to the divine energy. Therefore, the words uttered by such people are called as Irai Vaaku. Irai means God in Tamil, and Irai Vaaku literally means the speech of God. It is said that just hearing their words itself will bring a certain level of clarity in our lives, and that is why we repeatedly listen to the speeches or the writings of Jnanis. The Tamil devotional songs like Thiruvasagam, Thiruppavai, Tirumurugattruppadai, Thirukkural, they are all examples of such works. You don't really need to understand the meanings of those works. It is said that just listening to the sounds itself will bring a change in life. So now coming back to the Vaaku, you see how the Vaaku works in our lives. First we don't speak in our baby years, then slowly our speech comes out, and then we talk a lot, and then after many lifetimes it goes back to the Mooladharam and our speech is reduced. Eventually we become wise and therefore silent. In Tamil, the silence is called as Maunam. So we can say that someone who talked a lot in her life and then became silent is a Jnani. Now, why did nature design us like this? First we were designed not to speak, and then we spoke a lot, and then we were silenced. Why this exercise? It is said that nature does this so that we gain experience and our true self is realized. There is a small story to illustrate this point. You see, once there was a newly married couple. The husband told the wife that they should learn to communicate well. Communication is the foundation of our relationship, he said. If we can make an effort to understand each other's intentions, he said, then they can definitely live a happy life. He said that a lot of misunderstandings can be avoided when we learn to see the intentions behind the actions. The wife also agreed that they would make an effort to understand each other's intentions and not judge each other based on the actions alone. Seemed like a nice idea. One day the husband had to travel for work and he had to stay away from home for nearly a month. His heart was still longing for his beloved wife, but what to do, he had to go, and he said to his wife that he'd be back soon, and he left. Each day he wrote a letter to her, and at the end of the letter he lovingly wrote, "Please reply soon." But no reply came. He wrote anyway again and again because he really missed her, and he was very angry that she never replied. And after his work was over, he came back home and he expressed his anger to his wife. He said, "I wrote nearly 20 letters to you and you never even wrote back once. Why? Why did you do this to me? Did you even get my letters?" He literally shouted at her. The wife said, "Just wait a minute," and then she went inside and got all the letters that he wrote and she gave it to him. But all of them were unopened. She hadn't opened even one letter. He was shocked and he asked, "Why didn't you open even a single letter?" And then she replied, "Well, all the envelopes were glued and stuck, so I thought that you didn't want me to read them. If you had intended for me to read them, then you wouldn't have glued them like this, right? You would have sent me the letters in an open envelope. I thought I read your intentions right, and that's why I never opened the letters." It's a little funny, isn't it? But in reality, we are the wife. Nature or God stuck the we and the body so that we will make an effort to tear the attachment and get ourselves released. The intention is not to remain stuck in the body, and a person who has managed to do that is a jnani. So moving on, I said that in the Mooladharam, Vaaku is present as light. Our speech is present as a subtle form as light in the Mooladharam. That is called as a sukumai Vaaku. Now, from our understanding of how sound is produced, we know that sound is created by vibrations. We need two objects to strike, and when two objects are struck, the sound is produced. But interestingly, the sound that is present in the Mooladharam, the sukumai Vaaku, it is said that the sound that is present here happens without any kind of friction or striking of two objects. Then, what is the audible version or the audible sound of that light? That sound is A. The sound that is originating in the Mooladharam, that is produced without any disturbance from any other object, when it comes out, it takes the audible form of A. No matter who opens their mouth, whether it is a man or a woman or a child, whoever does it, it is only the sound A. And this is called as the Moola Saptam or the fundamental sound. The creators of the Tamil language, they took this fundamental sound and created all the other sounds in the language using our natural instruments. We have 4 natural instruments: the lips, the tongue, teeth and the palate or the roof of the mouth. And these instruments create different sounds from the basic sound A. It's like playing the veena or the guitar. So we have the notes like sa, re, ga. The first string of the veena makes the sa note. And when we press on the string at a certain point, we get the re note. And when we release the string, we get back to the sa note. It is only the sa note that had become the re. So the letters of the Tamil language are also like that. While saying the letter A, if we purse our lips like this, then we get the sound oo, ow. And when we release the tension, it goes back to oo, ah. So any letter, whether it is oo, e, ka, h or a, is only a modification of the basic sound of A. A is the basis or the fundamental sound from which other sounds can be created. And the creators of Tamil language, what they did is, they took this fundamental sound and made it as the first letter of their alphabet.
So whichever language you take, the fundamental sound from which all the letters are born is only A. The Tamils took pride in the fact that they made the natural sound as the first letter of their alphabet. One Tamil poet writes, when you open the mouth, the sound A is born, and another poet writes, it's not like we open the mouth and A is born, rather the sound A is opening the mouth and pushing itself out to be born. It's just a beautiful way of expressing the idea. So the Tamils understood that the sound A is the fundamental sound from which all the other sounds are created. See, in Tamil there are certain words that can have more than one meaning. The word Muthal is one such case. Muthal means first, and it also means foundation. When we are starting a business, we put in our initial investment. It's also called as our capital. And using this capital, we grow our business, isn't it? That initial capital is also called as Muthal or Mudaleedu in Tamil language. So Valluvar uses the word Muthal in this first Kural in the context of foundation. When he says agara muthala, it doesn't mean first. It means that it is the foundation or the capital. Valluvar is saying that A is the moolam or foundation of all the sounds of not only for Tamil language but for all the languages. It belongs to all the languages. Now I had initially raised a question, did Valluvar make a mistake in saying that A is the first sound of all the alphabets? And here we have the answer. No, he didn't make a mistake, it is the moolam for all the languages. Now one more question arises. Any letter of the alphabet should have a sound form and a written form. We understand the sound form, but what about the written form? Is there anything special about the written form of the Tamil letter A? There was a scholar called Kripananda Warrior in India, and he explained that the letters in the world are born from 4 basic strokes: the circle, standing line, sleeping line, and the crescent. The letter A, the Tamil letter A, has all 4 of these strokes in one letter. So if you can practice A, then you will be able to write all the letters of all the languages. So in the script form also, the Tamil letter A becomes a foundation for all the letters. Okay, so this chapter is about God. What is the relationship between the letter A and God? Valluvar says that just as how A is the foundation of all the letters, God is the foundation of all creation in the universe. He says that if you want to understand God, then look at the world around you. That is the only way to understand Him, because God cannot be fully described or captured in words alone by reading a book. Why God? We humans still don't understand things that we come across in our everyday lives, isn't it? For instance, let's take the space. Most of us think that space is something in the sky above us. But really, what is space? How do we define it? Is it just the absence of matter? Or is it an object by itself? If it is an object by itself, then can we measure it or somehow describe it using known quantities like length, height, weight? If space is an object, then do we understand what is the absence of space? We say that space is around us, but we still have questions without clear answers, isn't it? So then imagine our understanding of God. Then how do we go about understanding God? Our ancestors said that if you have to understand something that is beyond the grasp of our intelligence, then we have to start from the known. We have to start with the known to understand the unknown. We know the world, and so we have to somehow use the world to understand the God that is beyond. You see, in India, we have many temples, but there are 5 temples dedicated especially for each of the Pancha Bhootas or the 5 elements that comprise the universe. There is a temple for earth, one for the element water, fire, air, and one temple for space. And in that temple that is dedicated to space, it is called as the Chidambaram Nataraja temple. The empty space is worshipped as God, because it is one expression of God. Many visitors in the temple, they tend to peep inside during the rituals to see if there is a symbol or a statue, but it is only empty space. So anyway, we use the known elements to understand the unknown. If there is smoke, then we can infer that there is fire. So using this world, we understand that there must have been a force that created all of these, and that force is what we call as God. It is that single force that has been transformed into all these things that we see in creation. Some translations of this Kural say that the words Adi and Bhagavan in the Kural refer to the mother and father of Valluvar and all that, but Parimila clarifies that that is incorrect. Valluvar is saying that the letter A commands superiority because of two truths. One, it is the foundation of creation of all the other letters of all the languages. Without the letter A, there cannot be a language. And two, the sound A is created without any manipulation or friction. It is the natural sound present in the Mooladharam. Now, similarly, God is superior in the sense that God is the foundation force behind all of creation, and He is not created by someone or by manipulating something. In His true form, He is pure intelligence, the all-knowing, ever-present and all-pervading intelligence. That is His natural form. We cannot grasp Him completely using our knowledge from books alone, but we can realize Him using our natural intelligence. So, in summary, the first Kural says that just as how the A is the fundamental sound of languages, God is the foundation from which creation happens. And with this explanation, we finish the first Kural. I understand that was a lot of information for just 2 lines of the Kural, but that is how these books are. Without really understanding why A is the fundamental sound and how all the other sounds are coming from the sound A, we can't really understand the kind of comparison that Thiruvallur is making in this first Kural, and we can't really go into the depths of the author's mind. So, I hope that was useful. So, we shall end here, and thank you all for listening. Nandri, Vanakkam.